Our world, it is changing in extraordinary ways. Digital technologies are rewriting the future. Innovations are changing how we work, how we live, and how we play. Our world is extraordinary, but it's also fragile. We're in the grips of a global pandemic that threatens lives and livelihoods. The world is not on track to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. 700 million people live in extreme poverty. Global temperatures are on course to rise 3.5 degrees Celsius this century. And if we continue as we are, it will take 257 years to close the economic gender gap. Companies now face growing pressure to radically rethink their role in society. Investors, consumers, and employees want to see more ambition, more action. To chart this new course, we need a new type of business leader. One who's willing to make the long-term sustainability of our world a top priority. Now is the time to raise your ambition for people, planet, and prosperity. We must leave no one behind. After all, business cannot thrive in a world of inequality and unrest.
Hello everyone, my name's Sarah Galloway and I'm a partner at Reynolds Associates, where I co-lead our sustainability practice. It's a real privilege to be here today to talk about the role business can play in catalysing real change in our societies, ecosystems and economies. As we've just seen in that video, there's a lot of work to be done. This year we have faced so many crises: COVID, racial injustices, the Australian bushfires, the rainforest fires in Brazil, and other environmental events. Underpinning all of this is the fact that we are not on track to hit the SDGs by 2030. This must change. Over the next 15 minutes, I will talk through how we can start to do just that. So first, why do businesses need to become part of the solution? Of course, sustainability is first and foremost the right thing to do. But there is also a huge body of evidence to show that there is a real business imperative, a critical lever for driving value and growth. We know that a wide range of stakeholders expect businesses to be doing more. Investors are already valuing companies that put sustainability front and centre more highly than those that don't. And they can see through token commitments and want to see sustainability at the heart of corporate strategy, culture, and operations. Consumers are looking closely at companies' sustainability credentials. They're voting with their wallets and will buy more from companies that get this right and are increasingly avoiding companies that aren't doing enough. Employees want to work for businesses with strong purpose and a clear record on sustainability. Those that act will find it easier to attract and keep hold of top talent. And finally, regulators are also closing in and demanding that companies reorientate towards a more sustainable future. So the business case is here. And with this, sustainable business is no longer a question of why, but how. The question of how is critically important because it's clear many businesses are struggling to rise to the occasion. Research shows that most CEOs are advocates of sustainability. They know just how important an issue it is, and they see it as a critical driver of business success. The problem is, they're struggling to translate this into action. Just 48% are actually integrating sustainability across operations, and only 21% believe business is currently playing a critical role in meeting the SDGs. So why has progress been so slow? And how do we close the gap between rhetoric and reality? The short answer is that businesses are not using all the weapons in their arsenal. Many companies are spending a lot of time and effort developing their sustainability plans, policies, and processes. These are important, but they're not enough. If we're to make progress towards the SDGs, we first and foremost need great leaders. Leaders who are willing to step up and change the conversation. Leaders who are willing to completely reimagine their business models. And leaders who are willing to make the tough decisions that this involves. In other words, without great leadership, we will never see the changes we need to build a better world. And we need to identify and develop the next generation of sustainable leaders. Unfortunately, this is not happening. Every year at Russell Reynolds Associates, we place thousands of leaders into C-suite and board positions. And we know that what organizations value or require when they select new leaders has big consequences for organizational strategy and culture of the businesses they go on to lead. We wanted to know whether sustainability was a real factor when organizations appointed their leadership teams. So we analysed close to 4,000 senior role specifications to find out. And we found that only 15% referred to sustainability. But within this, only 4% were demanding sustainability experience or mindset. In other words, businesses are doing a great job of putting sustainability into descriptions of their company, but not in defining their leaders. If we're to see transformation on the scale we need, if we want leaders who focus on both profit and societal benefits, this needs to change. Here at Russell Reynolds Associates, we spent a lot of time thinking about the question of how do we make sustainability core to the DNA of our leadership teams. And this year we partnered with the United Nations Global Compact to begin to answer that question. We know that there are CEO and board leaders out there who have made considerable progress integrating sustainability into their business strategy, and we wanted to find out how they had done it. So we asked 55 of these sustainability pioneers to lift the lid on their motivations, their competencies, and their actions. How had they done it? This information is allowing us to help organizations better identify, enable, and develop the sustainable leaders of tomorrow. And we hope that it will allow you to do the same. So what did we learn? First, we found that sustainable leadership is not a castle in the sky. It is actually an attainable goal for all. When we asked these leaders what had motivated them to engage so deeply with the sustainability agenda, we found that they typically fell into one of three categories. The first are the born believers, those that described a passion for the environment or social issues having been fostered in them from an early age. The second group are the convinced, those that described an increased understanding of the strategic importance of sustainability as they grew in their careers. And the third group, the awoken, are those that described a pivotal moment of realization prompted by some major event or experience in their lives. It would be easy to assume that most of these leaders are born believers, and around 45% of them are. But just as many have come to this over their career. And this is a critical finding because it tells us that there are more sustainable leaders in waiting than you think. And even more importantly, it tells us that we have a huge opportunity to shape and grow the sustainable leaders in our ranks. Take this opportunity to think about who the sustainable leaders are in your organization and how you can help develop them and give them the opportunities they need to make a difference. We've discussed the journey to sustainability of these leaders, both in terms of their motivation and their experience. But what is it that sustainable leaders do differently? What are the capabilities that make a leader a sustainable leader? We found that it all begins with a sustainable mindset, and that's in the middle of this model. When we spoke to our 55 pioneers, we found that time and time again, they had a deeply held belief that their success as a leader doesn't just come from creating financial value, but social and environmental value too. They truly saw that their business does not operate in a vacuum, but is intrinsically linked to the wider societal and environmental context. And they wanted to have a positive impact in all these areas. This is a sustainable mindset. And underpinning those are 4 other areas. The first, multi-level systems thinking. That is, sustainable leaders are always looking at how their organizations fit within a larger economic, societal, and environmental system. They have a broader vision and they see how everything fits together and how everything impacts each other. And they use this understanding not only to advocate for change, but also to drive competitive advantage. The second is stakeholder inclusion. Sustainable leaders actively include stakeholders to drive transformation. They always seek a wide range of different viewpoints when making a decision, fielding feedback from employees, customers, investors, governments, and communities in which they operate. The third area is disruptive innovation. Sustainable leaders recognize that real progress requires exponential change and business model innovation. Incremental change is not enough. They really challenge traditional approaches and confidently steer into the unknown. And they make bold investments to test the limits of what is possible. And the last area is long-term activation. Sustainable leaders recognize that change takes time, and they wholeheartedly commit to this journey. They set audacious goals and rigorously drive concerted action. They take a long-term view that helps them stay the course in the face of setbacks. As we have seen, if CEOs and boards are to effectively drive the transformation needed to integrate sustainability into business strategy and operations, they must embed it in the leadership culture of their organizations. We know that the best organizations out there are taking concerted steps to embed sustainability into the frameworks and processes that drive how leaders are selected, promoted, rewarded, and developed. And we are seeing the benefits that this brings. Ultimately, when it is done correctly, it provides a powerful signal from the top that the leadership team will back its commitment to sustainability with real decisions about current and future leaders. And this is what we need: serious commitment and serious action. So we are at a turning point, a decade of action. Business has a critical role to play to achieve the SDGs, and we need to act. But to act, we need great leaders, great sustainable leaders, leaders who can change the world for the better and develop the next generation of sustainable leaders. We need to find these leaders, identify them, develop them, and retain them. Great leaders always rise to the occasion, and it has never been more important to have great sustainable leaders rise to the challenges we face now. Our mission at Russell Reynolds Associates is to change the way the world is led. Please join us in this mission, as it has never been more important. Thank you for your time.